Alright, to create these giant beads, I'm using a pack of these kids' play balls I got from Dollar Tree. So $1 for 8 of them, not bad, right? You could use styrofoam balls if you choose, if you can't find these, but that might be pricey just because you have to buy a bunch of them, you know what I mean? So as you can see, like the ball has a little print on both sides. I figured, well, let's poke the hole through that side. That way, when we go to spray paint everything and actually put the holes through the ball, we'll kind of cut most of those little words, the print thing out, so that you don't see it on the overall design. But you can do however you feel looks appropriate. So I just put these skewers through the ball just to kind of hold the ball in place so I can go outside and spray paint it with spray paint. The spray paint sticks very well to this plastic, and it does bend with it. When it bends, the paint still will stick. So that's kind of nice. Okay, so after you've got all of the balls poked with a skewer, we're going to take some styrofoam and put it inside of a box. I mean, whatever styrofoam you can find. And just take the other end of the skewer and stick it into the styrofoam like this here. And then once you have all your balls spaced out evenly like this, then we're going to go ahead and spray paint it with white spray paint just to give a good base color. I did spray paint this and let it dry, and I did that 3 times. So I gave this 3 coats just so everything was like even. After all the balls were dry, I obviously pulled them out, and we're going to prepare them to get them painted like a wood color. That's kind of the tone I was going for. So I mixed in like a gray, a white, and I mixed a little bit of this like bronzy yellow color and made my own custom color that I thought would be like close to the color of wood, or just like taupey colors is what I was going for. I think it's best to go in the same direction with your brush to kind of give those like the grain look of wood. To create the hole in the center of our new round bead, I literally just took a pair of scissors and then I carefully poked one end of the scissors into that little hole that we previously made with our skewer, and then I just kind of pushed it in ever so slightly and started cutting little by little in a round motion to kind of create a circle. So this will happen because the acrylic paint did not stick very well to our spray paint, so it's going to make the whole entire thing flake off. But after we cut our hole, brush as much of it off as possible around the hole, and then we're going to actually go over it with some more acrylic paint. So like, see what I'm saying? Like those little flakes just need to come off. And then we'll put paint over this, which I just used my finger with some gray paint and I went back and forth. For this next style of bead, I took a pool noodle and I just simply took a really sharp kitchen knife and I cut maybe like 1/2 inch to an inch sections out of the pool noodle. So it really just depends what size you want the bead to be. So I would say I went in between 1/2 inch and an inch, just somewhere, just super random. I didn't do like precise measurements or anything like that. So now I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to do. You could paint them, but this is the texture that it leaves. And I didn't really want that. I wanted them to look a little nicer. So I took some twine and then I wrapped it around and created this like little bead. Let's be real, it's a big bead. It's a giant bead. So this is how I did it. I just took some hot glue and I put it up through the middle first, and then I hot glued the twine onto itself and a little bit onto the foam. You don't want to get too much hot glue onto this foam because it will just go right through the foam. If that, you'll see what I'm saying. Like, it'll burn through it and just create like a big hole. So really you want to try to get that hot glue onto itself. So I'm just showing you, you guys can use like the cotton twine from Dollar Tree, or even some yarn, or whatever you want to use if you don't want to use twine. So you could create so many different colors of beads if you have different yarn color, just different string. I suggest cutting smaller sections and just keep wrapping as tightly as possible and as close together as possible, so you don't see the purple like through the strands, if that makes sense. So yeah, just keep wrapping and wrapping, and then when you get to the end, just hot glue it onto itself, and then keep going until it's filled up. So here I'm just showing you like these two are different sizes, and you could create, like I said, whatever size you want to create. If you want it more wide. Alright, for the next bead, I'm actually going to be using this raffia off of the adult sized hula skirt from Dollar Tree. And all I did was untie the ends of like the twine here. So just untie it. Make sure there's no knots. See, like there's a knot on the end. We have to untie this as well. This is just the easiest way to get the raffia off of the string. So after it's untied, you're literally just going to go to like the piece of raffia and slide it right off the string. It's like that simple. And then you just pull these apart like this, and boom. Now you have two strands of raffia that you can now use to wrap around the pool noodle and create a different bead. It gives different color and different texture. I'm wrapping the raffia around the white one because I did not want to use this white one in my project. I thought it was pretty ugly, not gonna lie. So I'm trying to get that raffia as flat as possible, and I overlapped the previous piece I wrapped just ever so slightly. That way you're not able to, like, again, see through the strands and see that foam. And here's the finished bead. You can see how much wider the hole is than the other ones, just because of the material we used. Obviously, this is the best part. Once we have all of our beads complete, we can string them together. So right here I'm showing you, I'm creating a pattern with the beads. I end up going with the twine bead, and then the raffia bead, and then the ball bead, and then back to the raffia, and back to the twine. You kind of want to have a pattern planned out ahead of time so you know how many beads to make. I end up using some rope from Dollar Tree. So this was just the 9-foot rope, and I just strung all the beads on to the rope. So once we are done completely with our rope, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the end. I left about 8 inches on both sides, and then I'm taking the leftover piece of rope and I fold it in half and fold it in half one more time. And then I cut the loops on each end. So where my hand is going to be the middle of these ropes. So basically what I'm making is a tassel for each end of the bead garland, if that makes sense. So yeah, after we cut these loops, whoa, there goes my cat. I'm gonna take the strands all together, make sure they're all lined up, and then I'm getting them in from the middle, basically the middle of those. I'm tying a knot with the end of the garland around the middle of the new strands we just cut. So I'm going to tie just one knot and make that very tight, and then I'm putting that like leftover piece into the middle of the other hanging pieces. So I'm just bunching it all up together, and you can use a clamp on the end or a rubber band to hold everything together. I found that the rope wasn't going to be going anywhere, so I just left it alone. So the next step is to take some regular twine, and we're going to cut off maybe like 3 feet of it or so. And then I'm going to start by wrapping this around the top part of this tassel. So I'm making like a loop. It's a little loop, and I'm holding the end in my thumb, and then I'm wrapping around the bottom of where I put that little piece where my thumb is. So there's like a little piece of string, or the end, I should say, the end of the twine is where my thumb is. And then the hoop is towards the top of the tassel. So I'm just wrapping around. So it's very, very taut. Right after I've wrapped enough, I'm going to cut the end, and then I'm going to put it through that little hoop that I was talking about at the top right there. And then I'm pulling the other end where my thumb was covering the other end of the twine. I'm going to pull both ends of twine very tight and try to make sure that I'm getting that hoop to pull the other end of the twine up underneath what we just wrapped. If you have any questions on kind of what I'm talking about, I will leave a video on my trash to treasure video. I kind of did this similar way of wrapping, or if you don't want to do all that, you just tie a regular knot and cut it. After both ends were pulled very tight, I just cut off the excess that I don't need, and it looks like a really nice piece of tassel. You could leave it like this, or we are going to actually, well, I am, I'm unwinding each piece of rope just to give more like texture and like more volume, fluffiness to this piece of tassel. Once we're done, we can just pull everything and trim off any pieces that are too long. And now time to style it. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button.